Hi, William and Mary. This is Emily Nye with the Flat Hat, and today I'm here with class of 2014 presidential candidates Grace Martini and Kaki Larbriere. Thank you for joining us, guys.
Thank you.
First question, if you could both answer it, why are you personally running for this position?
I am running for this position because I think it's a wonderful leadership opportunity. I have absolutely no essay experience, and I think that's actually one of my biggest strengths. And I think that my ability to have had experience in several different organizations is a great opportunity to inspire vision for our senior year in class.
Wonderful. Well, I'm actually running because I believe that I'm the best candidate for this position. I do have previous essay experience. I've worked my freshman year through the advocacy committee for the class of 2014, and then also this year as the treasurer. And I know what it takes to be a class president. And this year with the new changes in the class president's role, actually, the senior class gift is no longer a part of that, but they're trying to make the role more legitimate by making the president go to Senate meetings, which is on Sundays and Tuesdays as well. So I'm very excited about those new opportunities that will be provided for that position, and I think it'll be a great way to strengthen the relationships between the two different branches of that side of the government as well as the executive cabinet.
Now, you both had mentioned your backgrounds in leadership, and obviously they're very diverse. Grace, as someone who doesn't necessarily have essay experience, how would you counter the claim that it might be difficult for you to take on such a significant leadership role?
I think that's a great question, and I think it's one of my biggest assets is actually not having experience, because when you do, you become very rooted in a specific way of doing things, and there's a norm, and I think that often makes change hard. And I think historically this position is not one that has received a ton of attention, especially given, like bigger positions like student body SA president. And I think for someone to actually make a change, it requires new blood. And sometimes, you can have experience in an organization, but that doesn't necessarily mean you can lead it and make changes, because you have sort of a set norm equilibrium of how things are done. And so I think that's one of my biggest opportunities, is to come in as fresh blood with significant leadership positions in other facets of campus to, take on a new big role.
Now, on the other side of the coin, Kek, you previously served as class of 2014 treasurer, is that correct?
Yes.
How would you then consequently counter the claim that being someone who is already involved in essay, that you are stuck in a norm and that there is a cushion between you and the student voice?
Well, first of all, I think that the really quick turnover rate for the class president to adjust to all of these new roles as the president is very hard to take on without that experience in being around the class president and putting on the activities for the previous years. But as in making a change, I think that even if you do have experience, you're really willing to do whatever you can to make the organization as effective as possible. And what we're trying to do right now with the new proposals for the positions is we're trying to create not just more of legitimacy for that branch of the student government, but we're trying to bring together different organizations and make changes that are positive and just bring about like a new aspect and a new accountability for the undergraduate council, because I definitely think change is so important, because we've done so much already as a junior class, and I just think that even with new people and great ideas, I think that behind that you do need to have the experience to make the policy changes that you think will be most effective.
Now, the particular position that both of you are running for senior class president, is such a significant opportunity. You're leading your class during its final stage here at William & Mary. Each individually, what are things that you would like to see accomplished if elected?
Me first? Okay. Well, I was really excited about the budgeting process that I got to be a part of this year, and I looked at the traditional events and I was like, is everyone really excited about what we always get to do? And I was like, Well, what do people want to do? So I want to create this transparency through surveys and emails by asking the class what they would be interested in going for the events. And a specific event that I want to bring is kind of a play on Java Jams that we've done a couple years back, but I'm calling it Senior Sundays, and it's just like this cool free event put on specifically for the senior class in Lodge 1. It's free for everyone, and it's kind of like this talent contest, like creative outlet, where everyone can just unwind before Monday hits that super stressful time. And through the budgeting process, we had about $1,600 to put on activities this year, and next year we have $5,200. So just think how many more activities we could do. And I think it's important to gauge student interest because I want to do events that people are excited about. And we'll still have the donuts for the swim study breaks because, I mean, who doesn't want free food? That's so exciting. But I also want to do the class emails, but make sure that there's a transparency there in what we are doing in the undergraduate council as class representatives, as well as keeping the senior class up to date with what's going on school-wide and what's going on with the overarching branches of student government.
Grace?
Yes, I think that it's an incredible opportunity to implement some new things. I think one of my biggest strengths is that I have networks that are typically not represented by student government, and I think the people who have represented us in the past do an amazing job, but there hasn't been that transparency. And so I think through the same sort of idea, through emails and surveys, but not just, informal, meetings that people can attend to just sort of have transparency, like almost office hours, coffee hours where people can make suggestions. Because I think one of the biggest things in the past is there hasn't been this input. And that's a critical thing that's missing, especially when the budget is increased by an incredible amount. And I think I have the ability with sort of these different networks, representing different organizations that I can get a lot of input into what we actually want.
Now you had mentioned the budget. The budget has been one of the issues that's really been talked about with regards to the student assembly, that a lot of students have expressed unhappiness with where their dollars are being put to use. If forced to prioritize or collectively think about where you see the budget going, what are your ideas for that?
Well, I definitely want to make a change to what we're doing with our class philanthropy. We do a lot of raising money through profit shares and just putting a lot of our funds towards that and a lot of our energy. And I'm thinking more of an active community participation would be more exciting with an organization that the senior class can connect with. And this active community engagement is, of course, free because volunteering is such a huge asset that we haven't really tapped into yet. And I think that would be a wonderful resource. And then we could just save the rest of the money for big events. We have like the candlelight ceremony. That's what the senior class is also a big part of putting on. It's a lot of like your traditional like right before graduation stuff. And we want to make that really nice. But with the cut for the food and drinks for a lot of those events, we have to look elsewhere to make sure you still keep that traditional experience that's beautiful and very high quality, but make sure that when we invest our funds, it's in a way that you remember your memories as a senior, and it's not just like there is a profit share here and I didn't go, but I just knew there was one,
Absolutely. I mean, I sat on the Board of Visitors as a sophomore, and I sort of had firsthand the budget, and you see how drastically budget has just been cut by the state over the years. So I think being fiscally sensitive is incredibly important, and I think you do have to make those changes to philanthropies, but part of my job is to bring people together over things that don't necessarily cost money. And so I think that a lot of things can be as simple as just a class of 2014 message board on Facebook where you praise people for good things they're doing, in the community, raising awareness, so that you can find very thrifty ways to do things that engage class of 2014 without getting rid of really important things like the candlelight ceremony.
Good. All right, last question. If each of you could answer individually. If elected, what do you see your term as president and consequently the Greater William & Mary Student Assembly meaning to the members of the tribe?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Well, I think that if I were to become senior class president, what I would want to see is a greater involvement of bringing the class together as seniors, because it's important to have that memorable senior experience, but I think it's also important to create awareness about what each branch of the government does, because as senior class officers, we would be part of the undergraduate council, and a lot of people don't really know what that is or what we do. But I think it's a wonderful position to utilize every class officer, because with the new proposals this year and the change to the senior class position, we would be putting on, we would be passing bills as the president and working closely with our own senators, because in the past we haven't been able to do that. And that new relationship will just translate into more effective and more impactful activities for the class. And I want to see just a bigger class involvement together. And I specifically would really love to see that in philanthropy, because through my family experiences at home, philanthropy and giving back to your community has always been a keystone of my childhood, and I just want to kind of bring that back to what the senior class is, because it's a lot about people-to-people memories, and when that has a certain purpose and a value, I think that creates a better memory. And with the philanthropy aspect and the traditional William and Mary activities for the senior class, I think that would just create a wonderful year.
I first and foremost want to be remembered for being gregarious and upbeat. I want people to feel like everyone had an opportunity to be part of a participatory progress, and that they felt comfortable saying to me, this is something I would like to do with my last year here. And I want to be able to have sort of this open door policy, and I want it to be incredibly transparent. And I want people to feel like they know exactly what I'm doing, when I'm doing it, who I'm trying to work with. And I think that's participatory process, allows more organizations on campus to get involved and feel like they're included. Because Hackie's right, there is very little transparency between, the different parts of SA and how they work. And I even, just had an enormous hard time sitting down with someone in SA right now and just saying, how does this work? Mm-hmm. How, what are the roles? And I think you need someone who is not afraid to be goofy and not afraid to make mistakes and, be able to inspire people to participate.
Well, thank you very much for taking time to meet with us, and thank you for tuning in.